I'm the person who has seen this show before.
I'm a person who's never watched an anime.
HiroBabble, we are HiroBabble. HiroBabble, we are HiroBabble. Hey. Hello and welcome back to the HiroBabble podcast. Today we're coming at you with a little bit of a special episode here. It's the double epic. So you guys have been asking for this since day one. You know who you are. Because I don't. But we are kind of going to experiment today with doing a dual episode in one of our podcast episodes. And we feel like it's a good time to try that because episode 13 of Evangelion is a full episode, and about half of episode 14 is all recap. And then the last half is like 10-15 minutes of new content. So we're gonna give it a fair shake today, see how it goes. Let us know in the comments. Send us an email, send us a Skype AIM message. Hit us up on chat roulette if you want to let us know, how we're doing, what your thoughts are, and we'll be on none of those. So yeah, just
yeah.
Especially the email.
Hit us at our MySpace,
our GeoCities account. Find us on Flickr.
Yeah, we have talked a lot about our future projects potentially doing multiple episodes per week.
Yeah,
rather than doing one episode per week, and so this is kind of one of our first trial runs of this. So we'll see if you guys like this.
Yeah, and just to float the idea out there to our listeners at home, especially those in the Philippines, we're really kicking around the idea. We want to tackle long form series. Like they're, for me at least, ones that I've wanted to share with Spencer are like Full Metal Alchemist, Attack on Titan. Some of those longer form ones that, if we were to do single episode coverages, we would be doing it for like a year and a half.
Yeah.
But if we could do it in more of an arc format or like a season, hey, here is season 1, like our video on it. Or not our video, but like our episode. That could be like probably around 2 hours. We'd maybe split it into parts.
Sure.
And then kind of cover it by episodes. But let us know what you think. We definitely see ourselves still doing this format for shorter series. I think our max that we'll do this episodic format in is like 25. That's kind of our, I think, sweet spot. And then there are shows that have like 12 episodes a season, which are cake.
Yeah.
And if you guys like this double episode format, a 12 episode anime turns into 6 episodes of the podcast.
Right.
A 25 series show turns into like 13. So it, I mean, maybe 12. It just depends on if we want to do 3 episodes for the last, like, one of the podcasts or whatever. But, yeah, that's just kind of some insight into the minds of HiroBabble here.
Yeah, exactly.
But, yeah, feel free to let us know. Without further ado, let's jump right into episode 13.
Did you get the name of this one?
Yeah, Lilliputian Hitcher.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't.
I probably butchered that.
I didn't catch it in the. I must have been writing something when the little title screen showed up or something like that.
Okay.
So I looked up and then the episode ended and I had a blank on my page and said, you know what? I'm gonna let Fernie handle this one.
Yeah, I honestly am a little bit curious now that I've said the title.
What'd you say? Lily Pads Holiday?
Lilliputian. And so now I'm currently just entering it into Google Translate, and I just want to see how they'll say it. Okay.
Is it Scandinavian for something?
No, it's English to English, so here we go.
Lilliputian Hitcher.
Oh, Lilliputian. Oh, see, I wrote that wrong. Okay. Lilliputian Hitcher.
I kind of like Lily Pads Holiday. Just kind of a fun.
Is that a Green Day song?
Part of it is.
I'm gonna look up what that is. There's a part of me that's curious if that is a thing.
What is it? Lilliputian?
Yeah, Lilliputian Hitcher. But
we're gonna have one fan that's probably like that's in their normal vocabulary. They're like, come on, guys, really?
They're just saying all they'd be saying is Lilliputian Hitcher, and good on you. At least you're saying it right off the rip.
Right off the rip. So I actually want to say something to you right off the rip.
Right off the rip.
Tell me what you're
thinking right off the rip.
I will. Right off the rip, when I was watching this episode, I'm back to my dub.
Yes.
And
how jarring was it?
Jarring. It is. Certain characters are significantly different. And I think we've talked about this being an issue with other animes before. I think that I like the Netflix one better. And that might be sacrilege.
Really?
to the fans of this show.
Okay.
But I think that there's better voice inflection in the Netflix version. The characters have more broad emotions that they go through with each word. That I just feel like the voices match the personalities so much better.
Okay.
And because certain characters like, honestly, Ritsuko and, Masato and Shinji, their voices are kind of boring in the original dub compared to the Netflix dub.
Really?
And I decided that I kind of like it better, I think.
Okay.
I'm curious how many people will burn me over the stake for that, but...
that's a bold take. I'll say it. But interesting. So, was it just those characters you mentioned, or was it kind of the dub as a whole?
Well, the episodes that we're talking about today, because we're doing a two-parter, which is new for us, they're both very Ritsuko-centered episodes, which is really nice.
Yeah.
And her character specifically, I think, sounds much more entertaining in the Netflix dub versus the original dub that we listened to last time I was over.
That is fair. I will say I did notice, especially in these two episodes, because she gets a lot of screen time.
Yeah. And
a lot of time to speak. But as a whole, I just kind of found myself going, her inflection is very... I don't know if canned is the right word, but it's kind of in that range of, okay.
I will say it's a trade-off, though.
Yeah.
Because while I think that I like the voices better, I like the script better on the Japanese dub.
Yeah, well...
Not that I've listened to every episode, but...
Yeah.
Generally, when we've been talking and you'll tell me, a quote from yours that is a big moment in the episode, mine will be something totally whack.
Yeah.
So I almost feel like the redub was a great decision. The rewrite was a poor decision.
Yeah, that is interesting too, because at the end of the day, if your motives for changing the dub are you think you could do it better, or you think that time maybe wasn't kind to the initial recording,
right?
So let's redo it again. That's fine. By all means, because it's really a lose-lose situation. I don't think anybody out there is gonna go, yeah, you can change them. I'm cool with that. I really feel like it'll always be a point of contention amongst fans, but I think where you lose a lot of people is changing the script. Because hearing a new voice, I think anyone can get over, but hearing a completely different sentence in place of what you watched growing up, and now you're watching a new dub and a new script, can be just kind of a lot. And in the moments you've shared with me what your dub says, I'm almost always like, yeah, mine was better.
It's a little bit cringy sometimes.
Yeah, when it doesn't have to be, especially because the show kind of goes out of its way to make it not cringy.
I know. I was actually just going to say the opposite. I was going to affirm what you said, that the Netflix version almost goes out of its way to make things awkward for the characters, and it is literally cringy watching it sometimes. The interplay between mostly Shinji and Asuka is really awkward a lot of times. Here's a question that I have for you. So in the Netflix version, I'm assuming the show has a Japanese version, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you know if they redid the Japanese version? That might not be something that you'd know, but
I don't think so. I think they kept that original. So
untouched. That's good.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that is the original show.
Yeah.
So probably don't touch that.
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, it is interesting that they choose to like change one but not the other. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall for what that looked like.
Because that board meeting.
Yeah, because I would have just loved to see maybe some of the hoops they jumped through to like justify that.
Yeah.
But you know,
well, it's definitely a lot more money to re-record everything, so they must have felt like we are going to get big return on this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and to be fair, prior to Netflix having it, no other service had it.
Oh, really? All.
No. And the DVD copy that I have is completely out of print. I bought it at Half Price Books for like $100.
Oh.
Mainly because, one, it was sealed, which is already like a huge, like, oh my god, how is this still here?
Did you open it or not?
I did open it because I wanted to watch it.
Good for you.
Well,
Good for you, buddy. See, I am also a collector of many things.
Yeah.
One of those things is comic books.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I buy a high-priced comic book, I read it.
Yeah.
And to some people, that is absolute sacrilege. But to me, I don't understand why you collect something if it's not to enjoy it.
Yep.
You know, I don't just want to enjoy that sitting in a long box in a closet.
Yeah.
I want to actually read it and... You know, so well, I appreciate that you did that.
Well, and that's kind of one of those things too. When I first watched the series, it was like 2010. I watched it at a buddy's house because he had the copy, and I was like, "Oh yeah, this is cool." I didn't really understand it. I think I mentioned in episode 1, I was very much of the getting the fucking robot, Shinji, you know. And then when I got it at Half Price Books, I think I was a sophomore in college, and during my lunch breaks, I would go down to Half Price Books and just kind of peruse what they had. And that's what led me to buy it. And so from around that year was when I rewatched it, and I kind of found myself going, oh yeah, this is way different. And I think that because I had, one, grown up a lot from, I think in 2010 I was like 16, and then, you know, in 2016 I'm like 21, so
yeah,
my perspective on life is a lot different, but I just really enjoyed it. And I'm with you. I own a lot of manga, anime, stuff like that. A lot of it is digitized now because I've converted my collection. But if you're not going to watch it, why buy it? Why waste the money?
Dude, you know, it's funny. this is a really good conversation. At least it's entertaining for me.
Yeah, no.
This was kind of originally what HiroBabble was.
Yeah,
for people that don't know, is the original concept was this idea of Western comics versus anime. And comparing and contrasting, I would still like to do maybe a in-between seasons episode, bonus episode.
Like, what are we watching? What are we reading?
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
And maybe compare and contrast a little bit, because the collector's markets of both are very much similar.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they both have like a big con atmosphere. They both are like, you know, involved in tons of pop culture.
Yep.
You know, they're honestly pretty much the same industries.
Yeah.
You know. Anyways.
But yeah, that's just a little bit of background there. But I hope you guys at home like that. That was I love getting to talk to you about collecting and stuff like that, because I don't know, it's cool to have a passion, and it's cool to have tangible things that are tied to that. But it's even better when you use them. So
you know, it's great to have a wife that just fully supports me, and you know, my comic books every week, my NASCAR collection.
Yeah.
Just full support there, and so can't thank her enough.
Yeah, well, I mean, my girlfriend supports me. She'll sit there and listen to me, like, and genuinely listen too, like, about manga I'm reading or like anime I'm watching. And her and I are currently watching through a series right now.
Really?
Yeah, Riiiiiiiiight. If anyone at home has watched it, you probably know it's a really popular, well-known series, and right now the second season is airing. For context, the first season came out in 2016. So it's been about 4.5 years since that initially aired. And from my understanding, season 2 is just chef kiss.
Did the people like rise up and demand a second season, or
no? It's not more so that they demanded. It's just the animation studio knew the amount of time it would take to make a really good season, and in turn, like, adapting, because it's a light novel, so it's not manga where they're taking panels out of a
show
or panels out of like a graphic novel and animating it.
Yeah,
it's really, like, the light novel, they're kind of using their own imagination and working with the author on character designs and stuff like that. And light novels do still have imagery in them, so it's not as if they're completely blind, but I would argue it's a little bit more of a task to flesh out something like that than it would be a manga where traditionally you get to see the whole panel layout, the dialogue is there, and so then, you know, turning that into an anime, you kind of already have a storyboard for you. Granted, animators make storyboards to better lay out how it would carry over into a more fluid medium, but yeah, so her and I are watching that, and
so Riiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiil.
mean, Ray Unit Zero actually gets a little bit of screen time.
She gets her due in these episodes, yeah.
Yeah, but I guess that's enough of us dilly-dallying. No, I mean, in all honesty, you know, if you're listening to episode 13, you probably enjoy hearing us babble. And if not, I apologize. We'll shut up and talk about the show, but that's a little bit of a taste, I guess, of what the initial HiroBabble was, and you know,
it still could be.
It still could be, but we've been having a real blast just with this series as a whole, and it says a lot that, like, Spencer and I are actively thinking about what our next series is and how we're gonna approach it and stuff like that. So, you know, again, if you guys have any tips, tricks, pointers, advice, let us know. We'd love to hear from the people that are honestly checking in every week. It's been cool seeing that we have an audience like that, like a consistent one too.
Dude, with this kind of being, this is sort of the midpoint of this show.
Yeah.
And so it's so much of this is bittersweet because this show has been really fun and it's my first foray into anime. There's part of me that knows what we're going to be doing next, and I want to get that out to the people.
Yeah.
If that will whet the audience appetite there. But there's also part of me that just wants to keep doing this show forever because it's just so interesting right now, and I'm surprised how much I've really loved it. So the halfway point is kind of a bittersweet moment for me.
Yeah, but it's been a really fun ride. I mean, Spencer and I re-listen to the episodes often, and like usually he'll listen to it, I think, either as it comes out or, you know, around that time. I always give it a little bit of time and I'll listen to them like the day before we record, and it's been really cool to hear us in episode 1 where we were both super, I think, stiff and nervous, and then as each episode comes out, it just kind of feels like we're a lot more comfortable, and you guys may not be able to tell, but I can definitely tell that we're kind of in our groove, which makes it really very much bittersweet that, you know, we're talking about this classic show and sharing our thoughts for the first, well, not me for the first time. I've had my thoughts, but comparing them with yours as a first-time viewer has just been a blast. So
yeah, well, let me tell you guys, the show absolutely burns itself to the ground over these 2 episodes. So.
No. If anything, I guess just to jump into episode 13, I love that we finally get to see some insight into Ritsuko.
Yep.
It is about damn time.
It's been a long time coming. It was the same way when we first got info on Rei.
Yeah.
You know.
And Misato, too,
Misato, yeah. They're starting to pick up those pieces from episodes like 1 through 6, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was I really love that. They touch on the magi like immediately.
Yes.
That becomes like a big point of this episode.
Yeah. Well, and I will say it's been foreshadowed in the past couple episodes.
Yes, in the laundromat episode is where you first kind of Gendo's right-hand goon mentions that, you know, well, the magi really kind of controls
everything.
Mm-hmm. And you're kind of like, "Oh, I wonder what that is." Well, now we learn that it is a computer pretty much.
Yeah.
A supercomputer.
Well, and
I don't know how it's tough to call it a supercomputer because it's more than that, but I don't know. What would you call it in layman's terms, I guess?
I know, I'd call it a supercomputer.
Yeah.
I mean, and you find out later in the episode what powers it's thinking or how it operates, which is very interesting. And the fact that was like in the last 2 minutes, very, very solid. So right out of the gate, the episode starts off with Asuka, Shinji, and Rei, which what's even crazier is they really are off to the side in this episode. They are sidelined through and through.
Yeah.
Because this is the one time an angel is there that they can't fight. They literally can't do anything.
We don't even get the battle music in this episode, which is sad. But
a bit of a bummer.
Yeah.
I usually look forward to that.
I think it almost made this episode better because
it broke the mold a little bit.
Yes, you don't get the announcement that the angel's here. It's like, oh shit, we've been bested here.
Well, and even Gendo was like, don't tell anyone there was an angel. Wait, just ignore it.
I know.
Hang up. Tell him it was a mistake.
Yeah, oh man, I wrote down what he said, but it doesn't matter. He's pretty much like, let's just keep this from the government. Tell him the alarm is a false alarm, and,
Which is crazy because I feel like Nerve is the last person you would want to have a false alarm.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad both ways because he's saying it's a false alarm. Well, then people are gonna say, okay, well then, what the hell are you guys doing that you can't even keep your own alarm from going off, right?
But even then, it's also not good because the entire populace would need to know that there's an angel. And they're in Nerve's headquarters, the group that's dedicated to taking out angels.
Well, yeah, this is the stuff that Japan Heavy wants to hear.
Yeah.
They want to eat this up.
As they're like working on Jet Alone 2, they're like, please, God, let them fail. Please.
Oh, I know.
Well,
I feel bad for those guys.
Well, so the episode opens up. You've got Shinji, Rei, and Asuka. Asuka's throwing a fit because she has to be naked and take a shower.
Yeah.
Which was very funny banter because Ritsuko was like, don't worry, we turned off the cameras. And she's like, I'm still naked, though. That doesn't...
I know. She's like, I don't really care if you see me.
But Shinji and Rei are right there.
Right. The second children.
Yeah. Well, and their whole thing was they were doing a new synchronization test. Or no, it's not the sync test. Sorry.
It's similar to that.
It's kind of like that because they are testing, I think, their ability to simulate a synchronization.
That's right. So explain to me exactly what's going on because we've seen like a handful of similar diagnostic like tests like this.
Yeah.
So it appears that the Avas are under... It looks like water because it's blue, but it's some sort of like probably water solution, something that... I guess I'm confused what that is doing that's different than if they were just in a warehouse.
So I think the real core of the test was that they are testing the autopilot functionality. So pretty much how much can they withstand if the Ava is moving on its own? Because like you remember from episode 2, Shinji wakes up and as he's having this kind of PTSD flashback about what happened, his Ava went into autopilot mode and he really had no control whatsoever. But luckily the Ava like shut down.
So, gosh, I guess I'm trying to remember now in this episode, are the pilots like asleep?
Yeah. They're in like, so they go in through plugs and like they're in the LCL chamber of these like simulation versions. And you watch as, like, they kind of keep testing, okay, looks like we're at 10%, they're doing good, like, and you can see the fingers move a little bit.
Yeah.
And pretty much I think they're just kind of testing how far can autopiloting go without the pilot being put at risk.
Sure. Well, that's been, like, the common thread that I'm still waiting on is, like, that second episode or that first episode, like, closing... attention grabber at the end or that like big moment was where you see the eye
under the helmet.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that kind of the whole time I'd almost kind of forgotten going into this episode that the Avas are like a living thing.
Yeah.
And that there's kind of a balance there where one has gone berserk and kind of had a mind of its own, and we've seen it a couple times, and yeah, I'd kind of forgotten that detail, being so lost in the sauce of the
everything
impacts and the angels and everything. So, yeah.
Yeah, and so that's how the episode opens, and someone makes a comment that it took about a week's time to prep and get ready for this test they did last time. But this one took 3 hours, and they're like, "Wow, Ritsuko, like, way to go! This is a crazy turnaround." And the whole reason they have to be naked and super clean is that they don't want any potential outliers or like, little variances in the data they're trying to pull from this.
Yeah.
And the thought is that, if there's any external factors, it could be off even by just a little bit. So, yeah, pretty much the three of them hop into the test plugs, and they're doing the simulation. And this is where you get to learn about the supercomputer a little bit.
Yeah.
Or the magi, which I thought was really crazy. It's named after the three wise men, Melchior, Balthar, and Casper. And so, like, it was just kind of a cool reference, the magi, like those are the three wise men from the, they went to visit Jesus in the manger,
right?
In Bethlehem. I just thought that was like a cool little, among many others, a religious reference, that's kind of just tucked into the show in tandem with the angels and, Eve, Adam, stuff like that.
Right.
So it's kind of just a cool little breakdown of the magi. And so
Masato, sorry.
Go ahead.
Because you might be getting to it, but Masato and Ritsuko have a good interplay here.
Yeah.
They're kind of having a back and forth. They're talking about the tests, but they're also kind of they have this crazy ability where they can do full work mode and
gossip.
Be loose. Yeah.
Well, because Masato basically asks, so what is the magi?
Right.
What is that? And Ritsuko goes, well, maybe if you would listen, or, kind of jokes, well, you don't pay attention. But then Masato in my dub says a line along the lines of, well, because unlike me, you never talk about yourself, Ritsuko. And
right.
And I think that's very telling and speaks to the episode as a whole, because we're learning about Ritsuko, but we really have a surface level understanding of her as a character going into this.
Well, so Masato really runs the operations side with the pilots.
Yep.
And Ritsuko kind of runs more of the technical side, and usually we see the story being told from the pilots and Masato, with Ritsuko in the background.
Yeah.
Doing her little technical stuff. Whereas this episode's kind of flipped.
Yeah.
We get the main meat is Ritsuko dealing with the technical issue, and Masato and the pilots are kind of off to the side. So I actually, I've said it before, but I really enjoy the inner working type stuff of Nerve. So it was cool to see the script flipped.
Yeah. Well, so you also learn a little bit more about the magi as a whole.
Right.
Ritsuko goes to the bathroom and is like, all right, everything's checking out, mother. And at first, I remember when I first watched this episode, I was like, oh, is this going to be a weird thing where, the computer is her mom or
She's
whatever?
Just a total mechaphile.
Yeah, or oh, well, the AI reminds me of my mom or something like that.
Right.
But you find out that her mom made it. Her mom was responsible for creating this supercomputer that powers all of Nerve, the city of Tokyo 3.
Right.
And essentially does all the heavy lifting.
Well, in a lot of ways, her mom is the magi.
Yeah, and well, that's explained later.
You're giving me a lot of
you're
looks spoilers.
Spoilers. What if people listening to this haven't watched it yet? No, you're right. Her mom is the magi, and made it. Some say you can't have your cake and eat it too. What if you could have your magi and be it too?
If you are listening to, God damn it. If you are listening to this show on episode 13, and you have
13, 14.
13 and 14, first double episode, shout out to your boy who
pitched it.
That
was you.
Yep. If you're watching episode 13, 14 of HiroBabble, and you have not watched this show, and I guess maybe people wouldn't watch the show and just listen to us tell them what happened in the show.
Maybe.
But that's not the intention of the show. And
we're not knocking
if it's working, it's working.
Yeah.
I would rather have you watch the show.
Please keep listening.
Yeah, I'm just alienating our entire Filipino fan base.
Okay. What if it was the German fan base?
It could be, or the one Australian or Canadian or whatever.
I mean, it's cool we have some German fans. I mean, out there repping for Asuka.
Yeah, exactly.
She is German.
Exactly. Anyways, I guess, yeah, you know what? Watch it how you want to watch it. Why am I telling you how to listen to a podcast?
But I guess we're more so just saying you can't really call spoilers when you're halfway through a podcast about an anime
that came out in 1995.
From the mid-90s. Yeah. But yeah, you are right. I mean, Ritsuko's mom made it and is also a part of the Magi supercomputer. Which you find out later, but still is an important anecdote because it explains why Ritsuko is so, like, you know, as things start to go to shit, so attached to the supercomputer, which things go south very quick.
Right. Dude, okay, hold on. There's one thing that I want to mention before we get to that.
I think I know what it is.
Do you?
Yeah. Is it the Ikari will chew my ass out?
Is that what they say?
That's what they say in mine.
God, I hate the Netflix. I take everything back. I hate the Netflix.
Kozo is like talking to the two.
What does he say? He's gonna eat your ass?
No. Kozo talks to the two tech guys who I think are Shigeru and I forget the other guy's name.
They're the guy
with the long hair and the glasses. They have the most lines in this episode that they do throughout the whole series. But
do you think those guys like live together? Like, do you think they're total bros?
They have to be.
It's like just if me and you were working at Nerve.
Yeah, dude. Just two dudes hanging out, saving the world.
You want to get pizza after this, man?
Sick, dude.
Sorry, I didn't mean to derail you.
No, you're good.
I just like those guys.
The two of them are talking to Kozo, and they're making a note of like, hey, yeah, it looks like there's some rust or something. I mean, like, I mean, we initially gave 60 months for this wall or this like silo to be built, but we cut it down to like 30. So this is what we get. And Kozo's like, okay, well, you know, take care of that, otherwise Ikari will chew my ass.
Yeah. Oh my god.
And then Ritsuko is talking to Maya, and she's like, hey, make sure those like systems are all set to go, otherwise Ikari will chew my ass.
Oh, okay, so it's the same thing. It's the same...
But it's just funny because those two are like, they're like Ikari's, you know, top officials.
Yes.
It's just funny that they're like, he will chew my ass out if we fuck this up.
It's funny how your version makes it seem like they're both just close to Commander Ikari.
Yeah.
That they just know him so well that they both say that. My version, they don't say that. They say it's the equivalent of like...
He's gonna eat my ass.
God, I wish. I wish we could get back on that train from like episode 8 or whatever.
I think it was episode 9.
9.
Shinji, eat my ass.
Okay.
Anyway, sorry. Yeah, we won't derail
We can't get back on that. They say something dumb like, he's gonna get in a stinky mood.
Yeah. What?
Dude, I'm serious.
He's gonna get in a stinky mood?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's like stupid.
Bro, I hate your dub so much.
So
it's like they're writing it to be a kid's show.
Right.
Oh, Lord.
This led me to a theory.
Yeah, what's the theory?
I don't think this tracks anymore after hearing your dub. But I had this thought since... At the time, we really didn't know much about Ritsuko at this point in the episode.
Gendo Ikari is a little stinker.
that Gendo is stinky poo-poo.
Uh-oh, Gendo made a stinker.
Oh my gosh.
It's just Ritsuko and Kozo.
We're doing necromorph arms. Oh man.
Anyway, sorry.
I just had this theory that Kozo is his name?
Yeah.
That Kozo is Ritsuko's dad. And that they both just have the same phrases that they say because they grew up together.
No.
And then as this episode goes on, you immediately realize that that's probably not the truth.
No. Not even close, baby.
But Kozo, really. I have been calling him Gendo's right-hand man the entire time.
I mean, truthfully, that's what he is. They call him like Commander Futsuki or Fuyutsuki. I think that's how you say it. But
Futsuki.
Oh, I see. Bilingual.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's what they refer to him as. I just jumped to first names because everyone else is called by their first name. So it's tough because some shows will call them by their last name.
Well, yeah, that throws me off when Shinji calls Rei Ayonami or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, who is this?
Yeah, I'm watching Jujutsu Kaisen, and the characters, the main character is Ryuji Itadori. And so sometimes people will call him Itadori, and then other times they'll call him Ryuji. And I'm just like, pick one. Yeah. And it's there's a guy, Fushiguro Megumin. And people just call him Megumin, which I get it. That is way easier.
Yeah, that's good.
But also I'm just like, just do one. I'm sure there's probably some history or like cultural reasoning for that. So this isn't me saying, how about you use your real name, idiot? More so just, it's tough when you're talking about a show sometimes, because I find myself jumping between the names that are just as interchangeable in the show.
No, I agree. That throws me off constantly. Okay, so we are now almost 40 minutes in.
Yes, Gendo's gonna chew my own ass.
Gendo's gonna eat my ass if you don't shut the hell up.
Yeah, so following that, the corrosion that the two nerve guys are reporting to Kozo are taking a look at it more, and they're like, it is expanding, the corrosion. And so then like the red flags start to go off, and they're like, yeah, it is. It's moving really fast. This isn't good. And very quickly, it is like the biggest domino effect in the world where they are panicking because it's now spreading, and then it gets to the chamber where the 3 pilots are, and they're doing their autopilot. It takes over those like simulation EVAs, and then it adapts itself into a computer virus and starts taking over the magi.
It switches from, I forget what they call it, like heavy water or something. It switches from a water base where at first I wrote Water Angel, and then like later I wrote Hacker Computer Angel.
Well, this is the first time we've seen an angel that doesn't have a malleable form. Like every other angel has had some form of like physical body.
Which I think it's super cool that they did that. Like, that's way scarier than a giant bird walking down Japan.
Well, and it also like kind of cuts to this idea that they even mentioned right in the episode. Gendo's right-hand man is like, how do you fight an angel without the Evas? Kind of, because he basically, as everything starts to go full meltdown, this virus starts to take over the Magi. It gets through one of the supercomputers and is halfway through the second. Ritsuko comes up with a last-minute ditch effort plan, and luckily it stalls the virus for like 2 hours.
They get some time.
So Gendo, then it cuts to Gendo, and he's like, "Yeah, that was a false alarm. We don't have an angel here. Tell him it was wrong. Okay, bye." And then he hangs up the phone.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to Misato, Ritsuko, and I think Kozo talking to Gendo about what they should do.
Yeah.
And Misato in this scene kind of takes a weird 180 because she's like, I think that we should just destroy the Magi.
Right.
And Ritsuko's like, no.
Yeah, that's a major point of contention because now that we know that the Magi means something sentimental and personal to Ritsuko.
Yeah. It kind of changes the whole game a little bit.
Yeah. Because
Ritsuko's like, respectfully, I disagree. And Misato goes, well, I'm the general of operations, and I think this is what to do. And Ritsuko goes, okay, well, I think we can, come up with a new plan to fix it. And in response to that, Misato, in my dub, she goes, she says something along the lines of like, why are you like this? You never let anyone else take responsibility.
Yeah, I think she says almost the same thing in mine. Basically, the effect of like, how come Yeah, pretty much. How come it always has to be on you?
Yeah.
Like, how come you'll never let us help you?
Yeah, well, and it also kind of then lends credence to why Masato was being so adamant about, I think we should do it this way. I'm going to make this call.
Yeah.
I'll take responsibility. Let me step in. And Ritsuko was like, no. This is... And to be fair, I mean, this is Ritsuko's, like, main area of or expertise and where she operates, so...
See, that's what's cool. That's the flip that I was talking about earlier. That's what's cool about this episode is normally, like, even though, maybe Ritsuko's a little bit higher on the ladder, and maybe not, but I kind of get that gist.
Mm-hmm.
Masato really kind of controls fighting the angels for the most part in the field.
Yeah.
So, like, she kind of overrides Ritsuko, whereas in this case... Ritsuko's right. Like, it is really a technical issue.
Yeah.
So...
And Gendo basically goes, okay, how soon do you think you could have, like, a counter program running?
Right.
And she's like, well, we have 2 hours, so I'm going to get it done before then.
Yeah, it has to be before then.
I will say, I glossed over it because we jumped right into that conversation. So the two nerve guys... Their whole banter back and forth while they were basically talking about the system being taken over, in my dub, was some of the funniest shit I have ever heard.
Really?
And I forgot how corny it is, but it's basically like, oh no, it's getting into the system! And the other guy's like, oh man, it's taking over my system! Quick, activate protocol shutdown! And then the other guy's like, it's not working! And one of them just yells, we can't shut it down! And it was just the best. And then when it cuts to them doing the, like, key turn,
I know,
where they're both like, shutting down, magi system! And it's like, they, like, hold their key up, turn it into the ignition. 3, 2, 1! It's not working!
Like, they've practiced that in their bedroom multiple times. And it's funny because, the animators... The animators,
yes, thank you.
They try to make it look like where they show you both keys turning.
Yeah.
But it just looked like they counted down 3, 2, 1, turn. Like they did it at the wrong times. Dang it!
Well, and then they even go. They like retry again and go like gunk gunk. No, we can't do it. And it's the guy with the glasses that's like. In my W's like, we can't shut it down! And that line, I was busting a gut laughing. It was just...
Dude, while Gendo's just sitting there watching this, like... Oh.
Well, and it makes it even better that these two guys, in this episode, probably have the most speaking time.
Yeah.
So they were in the booth, just like, oh, it's our time to shine, baby.
This is our big break.
Bro, we are going to go worldwide with this.
Dude, it's fun because, like, all this shit's happening, and meanwhile, Gendo has these lines every once in a while. Him and Kozo, they have these lines together where, Gendo once again brings up Adam.
Yeah.
He's like, it's getting too close to Adam. Like, Gendo's super chill. Like, he clearly isn't showing his nerves.
Yeah.
But he starts to kind of talk like... Everything we've been working towards could be at risk, just throwing it out there.
Yeah, he's like, we may just have to detonate this whole fucker.
Yeah, where's my son? Leave him in.
And Kozo's like, what? Okay.
Wait, really?
Yeah, so after they talk, Ritsuko and Maya go down to like this underground tunnel that runs underneath the magi, pull out this air vent.
Yeah.
And the tunnel is just riddled with notes. And Ritsuko goes... Thanks, Mom.
Yeah.
Which basically a lot of those notes are alluded to be like the base code or kind of like the schematics for the Magi system.
They said in my dub, they're like coding notes. They're like notes for how to bypass certain things and speed certain things up. And like basically, okay, we've created this computer system. Well, here's how to kind of cheat the system. And it's just a bunch of notes in there. It scrolls past a bunch of notes, and there's like some scratch over the top of it, and it just says, screw you, Akari. Did it say that?
Yeah, it said that in mine too. I forgot to write that down, but I'm glad you mentioned that.
I think that's funny. It shows, because Ritsuko's definitely not afraid to speak her mind.
Yeah.
And her and Masato both. Mm-hmm. And so I think that it's fun to see that her mom was no different.
Yeah, her mom was like, Screw you, dude.
While she's down there sweating her ass off in
that like cramped tunnel.
Yeah.
Well, and so pretty much Ritsuko and Maya are just like typing away, and Masato is there helping her, and Masato goes, "Wow, this reminds me of like our college days."
I love that line.
Yeah, and meanwhile Ritsuko's like, keyboard 25.
Yep.
Enter.
Wrench.
Yeah, and it's really cool though, because they just like spend time talking, and that's when Ritsuko goes, "Hey, do you remember like the introduction of Transplant OS?" And Misato's like, "Yeah, isn't that where you can like put human consciousness into an AI?"
Right.
And Ritsuko goes, "Yeah, my mom invented that," and so she's very much a part of the Magi.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, they cut one of the
she
metal.
takes a grinder.
And you just see what looks like a brain.
Yeah.
And she just hardwires in and just starts like programming a brain, I guess.
Yeah. We don't need to know the specifics.
We don't. And frankly, I don't even know what they would be, but
I know. Where do you plug anything in?
The medulla oblongata,
yeah.
You know? But yeah, it's a really cool scene though, because it fleshes out, I think, a little bit of Misato and Ritsuko's relationship, that it very much runs deeper than just nerve. I mean, they were two really good friends, and sure enough, that carries over to where they are now, but their archetypes as people are very much the same. Because Misato's like, yeah, remember when I was, handing you these tools back in college when you were working on whatever?
I know. It was, honestly, it was kind of endearing to see them just kind of have this girl-to-girl moment.
Yeah.
It's crazy because they were pretty much facing certain death.
Yeah.
But for some reason, they totally just had their guard down. It's like they kind of squashed whatever animosity or jealousy was there. Because it's not like they'd been enemies.
Yeah.
At all. But they had definitely had a little bit of competitiveness between the two of them, I think.
Totally.
And I think that they kind of squashed this in the moment where they could have been facing their death. And it was nice to see Ritsuko lower her shoulders a little bit and just kind of speak.
Yeah. Well, and it's nice too because it, I love those moments where it gives kind of like the characters a chance to breathe, and it also just kind of, I think, speaks to this isn't their first life or death scenario.
No.
And to see them approach it with that kind of cool as a cucumber mentality is very cool. And the fact we get some character and relationship development out of it is just icing on the cake.
Speaking of character development, they can't do the episode without checking in on your boy Kaji.
No.
He just pops out through a vent in the tube and goes, guess my work will have to wait. And then pops back in. And I'm like, what were you doing, dude? What, do you remember what he said in yours? Something similar?
It was something along those lines. He goes, I think it was like, well, looks like a day off. And then he just pops back into the vent.
Oh my gosh.
And I love too that, just a deliberate little moment.
It's like he was up to some elaborate scheme. And then he's like, well.
Maybe another day.
Another Saturday.
Well, so after Misato and Ritsuko kind of have this moment, they are all of a sudden kind of pressed against the wire because the virus kicks up again.
Yeah.
Sooner, I think, a little bit than expected.
Yeah, quicker than the 2 hours.
And Ritsuko and Maya are like, okay, well, it's now or never. And Misato's like, we gotta shut it down. And Ritsuko goes, no, I can do it. And Maya, too, even is like, we can. We're close. And then right as it gets to, like, the last little square, they shut it down. And they're able to get control back. But
do you remember exactly what... They said some sort of technological term for what she was trying to do. And it might have been a fake term. But essentially, she was trying to hack... She was trying to, like... Basically, the Magi had been, penetrated and had betrayed itself. Yeah. Something failed in the program. Oh, yeah. And then she did something that...
Yeah, so...
Reversed everything.
The way they described it was, this angel was essentially converting itself into any form that would save it from, near death.
Oh, that's right.
And their whole plan was, well, what if we made the... angel think that this virus was going to kill it, thus forcing it to have to adapt, but in turn killing itself as well.
That's right. They did something that like sped up the time of the computer. I forget what they did, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah, they like tricked it into killing itself.
Yeah, they basically showed the angel that this wasn't a hospitable, host at all.
Yeah.
That it's actually gonna be the end of it.
Yeah, and so they ended up winning, came out on top.
Did they annihilate the angel, or did they just purge it from the system?
I think by extension they I don't know if they purged it, but I think they assimilated it into the magi.
Dude, it's fun to see just some good old-fashioned 90s hacking.
Yes.
Like, it's...
Just feverishly typing away on a keyboard.
That was, like, all the rage in that time. Like, you and me both loved the movie GoldenEye.
Oh, yeah.
And that movie was, like, so ahead of its time and so technologically innovative. The problem is that now it's really dated. Because at the time, it's like we're working with these big satellite dishes and we're hacking into everything and we're totally in the future. Well, now all that shit's old news, so it's super dated, which is really sad. But this is just a good relic of that time where it's like hacking is the newest, hottest, scariest thing. And so, hell, we're going to have an Evangelion episode about hacking.
And Ritsuko is going to just knock it out of the park with her mom's brain in a metal box.
I wrote, Ritsuko defeats Angel with hack of the century.
And honestly, it probably was in this universe the hack of the century for sure.
Yeah.
But what's really great is so after they defeat the Angel, and they're kind of like taking a load off, Masato and Ritsuko have another good, like, kind of guard down moment.
Yeah, they do.
And Ritsuko's line, one of my favorite parts of this episode is just kind of what she says at the end. She basically goes, when my mom made the magi, she split it up into the three, like, aspects of her life. Being a scientist, a mother, and a woman. And in this magi, the three aspects are fighting for dominance, and in turn she implemented the human dilemma, or the dilemma of the human experience. And, like, she basically goes, and what do you know? Like, to the end, like, to the very last second, my mom stayed a woman.
Yeah.
And Ritsuko kind of reflects and she goes, I don't know if I, will ever have kids or with anything like that, but I very much intend to, stay true to myself.
That's not what she says in mine. She straight up says in mine, well, and I can't be a mom.
Oh.
So I wrote that down like she has some sort of issue that she's not fertile.
Okay, yeah, because mine said, like, I don't plan on having children, and so she was just kind of like...
Yeah. I mean, either way, she's just saying, well, I don't have experience being a mom.
Yeah, but yeah. I know that, like... And she also says, too, I know my mom probably didn't have much either, but she was a damn good scientist.
Yeah, she's kind of like, as a scientist, I really respect what my mom did in the field.
But as her child,
yeah,
I hated
her. Yeah, and in mine she says, her quote is, but the woman part of her held out to the bitter end.
Yeah.
I was like, that's kind of a badass, powerful thing to end this episode with.
That is, and it's, I like that there's the mention of, like, the human dilemma, and kind of the idea of identity. How do you, like on the surface, I'm Michael, at work,
And I'm Spencer.
And I'm Spexo. Like, I'm a boyfriend, I'm a son, I'm, like, a supervisor at work, and I'm a podcaster by night. But it is tough because each of those identities holds different weights in different circles.
Yes.
And granted, I'm not a scientist at Nerve, but I think it is very spot on in saying that the human dilemma is trying to find balance amongst your identity. Yeah. And, like, in how you fit into things.
I just think it's brilliant that in this machine that controls the humans, not necessarily, not like that, but it controls their politics, it controls how they live their life, and unknowingly to them.
Yeah.
this machine saves humanity and saves itself with the human element that was put in the machine.
Oh, yes. And that's a solid point.
Yeah. Well, I think the only reason I got that is because the Netflix dub drives that part home.
Yeah. Where they're
like, the human in this machine, the woman in this machine is what saved us.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I really like that. I think that is a badass way to end this episode.
Yeah, and just a really powerful statement on the human condition, and at the end of the day, when all of your identities fade away, you're still human. And sometimes that's all you gotta be.
Wow.
Anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in this week.
We're gonna skip the next episode.
Yeah. Speaking of which, let's just jump right into that one, because
I did ratings for both.
Yeah. We'll save.
Do you want to do both ratings at the end? Okay.
So
all right, let's hop into episode 14 then, which I did write down the title.
Yeah.
Excuse my page turning.
Cell in the Seed of the Soul was mine.
My God. Who am I? I wrote down Weaving a Story.
Yeah, that's the English title. Mine is the Japanese one, Cell and the Seed of the Soul.
All right, so I'm not crazy.
So you know what Cell is, right? You remember that round table?
Frieza and Cell.
That'd be a fight. I'd love to see that.
I used to watch a lot of fun animations, shitty animations on E-Bomb's World.
Yes.
That had Cell in it.
Probably Oni cartoons.
Yes.
Yep. Dragon's Ball P.
So funny.
Oh, Vegeta.
Yes.
Playing with little boys in spandex, I see.
A real Saiyan always sprinkles when he tinkles.
Well, my power levels are above 9 million. Well, my power levels are above 10 million. It's just amazing.
Get carrot cake.
Anyways, yeah, the episodes, despite their naming differences, I mean, the first half of this episode is basically framed as Cell, that round table from episode, what was it, 3? When Gendo's talking to all of those
I've been calling that the circle.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know what to call that. And it's just this circle of yuppies.
Yeah. Well, now you know.
I also have been known to call it Gendo's goons.
Well,
But I'm coming to realize that
it's kind of...
Yeah, Gendo's somewhat the bitch in this group.
Gendo is very much answering to this group.
Yeah. I wrote down what it was called. What this group was called. I also wrote Circle of Goons again. God damn it. The Human Instrumentality Council.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
Just you wait.
That's my last note of the episode, so we're jumping ahead a little bit.
Well, I mean, to be fair, so the first half of the episode is framed as this round table talking to Gendo about the Evas and what they've done and their accomplishments. And essentially, you get to the end of this recap, and they're questioning him about the most recent angel attack from last episode, and they're like, you mean to tell me that you let an angel get that close to Adam and Lilith? And he's like, well, there's no record of an angel being there. You can even check the magi. Not a single damn thing.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, bullshit. We know that you can falsify all that data.
Yeah, and he's like, well, by all means, we can take a look into it. And then one of the guys goes, okay, whatever. We know that
pretty much okay, you don't want to give me the details? Fine.
We won't issue a punishment, but you better watch yourself, buddy.
Yeah, you're on our list now, asshole.
Yeah, asshat. So then it cuts to this weird, and I'm very curious to see how your dub handled it. It's this very kind of abstract, Ray is talking in the background, and it's
almost like a poem.
She's like, mountains, chilly, but then they get warm. Sky, it can be blue for the unseen.
Yeah.
Sun, hot. Water.
She actually says, I'm not picking you apart at all.
No, I'm just being a shit.
But she says, it really gets interesting when she says sky, because she says red. And then she starts talking about...
She says sky a second time. The first one is blue. Yeah, maybe you should watch the episode, buddy.
I was trying to read all the... I was too busy trying to write shit down because of how important the first half was.
Yeah. Okay, here. So we've got the whole thing. So we'll...
Oh my fuck.
So we'll read it real quick.
Hold on. Before we jump into this, I'm not going to take too much time with this, but I did enjoy hearing Reporter Kid's little journal in the opening. They had like a cut in between. They showed like a fight, and then they had like a cut in between that was like a journal from him where he was just talking about like his part and what he sees as a citizen.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I was talking to you about last time that we recorded, was just that like I want to know more about like what the citizens think, because like they've been doing all these simulations for seemingly years, and now all of a sudden shit's happening. And the kids talked about that. They were like, yeah, when this first started happening, we thought it was just another simulation.
Yeah.
You know?
Which was really cool.
Yeah. And so last episode, you were like, yeah, they might do it in the movies. And then here we go, this episode. Yeah. I'm getting what I wanted.
I thought it was going to be episode 15, so I didn't want to like say, just you wait, because I thought it was a ways off. But
anyways, that was it. I just, I liked... Yeah, I liked that they threw those in.
Shouts out to my boy Kensuke.
Yeah.
Video cameraman.
That's right. It gave the first half of the episode some worth to me.
Yeah. And also a much needed perspective on things.
Yeah.
So here's Ray's whole monologue.
Go for it.
Mountain, heavy mountains, things that change over time. Sky, blue sky, what your eyes can't see, what your eyes can see. Sun, a unique object. Water, something comforting, Commander Ikari. Flowers, so many the same and so many unneeded. Sky, the color red, I hate the color red. Water flowing, blood, the smell of blood, a woman who never bleeds. Man, made from red soil. Man made from man and woman. City, a human creation. Ava, a human creation. What is a human? A creation of God? Is man a human creation? The things I possess are a life and a soul. I am a vessel for a soul. Entry plug. The throne for a soul. Who is this? This is me. Who am I? What am I? What am I? What am I? What am I? I am myself. This object is me. This is the me that can be seen, yet I feel as though I am not myself. Very strange. I feel as if my body is melting. I can no longer see myself. My shape is fading. I feel the presence of someone who is not me. Is someone there beyond this? Ikari. I know this person. Major Katsuragi. Dr. Akagi. Everyone. Classmates. The pilot of Unit 2. Commander Ikari. Who are you? Who are you? Who are you?
My version is different.
Damn, really?
Only slightly.
Oh.
And it's actually the same. They didn't butcher anything.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. The only part that it really starts to break down is where she says, the things I possess are a life and soul. In mine, she says, the things inside me. And she says, I forget exactly, but a heart and something else. So it's like little changes. It actually doesn't change the context too much. And then at the end, instead of, I can no longer see myself, she says, I can no longer recognize myself. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same. Yeah. I think that this was the most weird interlude between a fucking Clips episode and
and then like the second half of a regular Evangelion episode.
It was the weirdest thing ever.
But what did you think of seeing all those rays at once?
I fucking loved that. This all but confirms my theory that Rei is a clone. I like some of the lines that really stuck out to me are just where she's like, obviously, who is this? This is me. Who am I? What am I?
What am I? What am I? What am I?
Yeah, what am I? What am I? What am I? I am myself. I feel like I am not who I am. I don't know. I mentioned as a joke in a previous episode that Rei is going through rampancy.
Yeah.
Like as if she's Cortana.
Mm-hmm.
And this almost speaks to the fact that she
is constantly in a state of just like questioning.
Yeah.
Or like analyzing and trying to dissect like her meaning or like who, like what she is. Who
like,
am I? What am I?
What life is and what.
Yeah.
Yeah, she is clearly really separate from humanity.
Yeah. Well, and also when talking about things like life and a soul as abstract items or like things that are...
She might have said heart and soul instead of life and soul.
Okay. I guess in the same vein, though, talking about those things as if they are sums of a whole rather than inherent parts of being is very interesting because it almost comes across as if they are things that can be transferred or you can move them or, you know, it's not like a concrete facet of her.
Dude, yeah.
So, that's crazy.
Dude, it was cool.
It was cool.
So out of place.
A bit trippy, but there's a lot to be garnered from that. And especially as someone, or from someone like Ray, who barely talks, it speaks volumes that this is like kind of what's going through her head. And it fits really well that when she kind of comes to, she's sitting inside of an Eva.
Yeah, dude, it's cool to see the world through her eyes a little bit.
Yeah.
And see... God, it just makes sense why she doesn't say much. Because she is literally... Like, she's learning so much constantly, and she's questioning everything. I don't know, that part left me kind of speechless after I watched it. Not that I was just talking to myself in my room, but I kind of didn't know what to write, what to feel about that, except I was excited that my clone theory seems closer and closer to being the truth.
Yeah, I really wrote down just the one, like the two lines of, what are humans? A creation of God?
Yeah.
What? And then in my dub she goes, what am I? I am I. And I just really liked that line.
Yeah, she says, I am myself and mine.
Yeah.
But you know what? I am impressed. For one, bold choice for the Netflix dub to even touch this. This seems like something that they could have left. But they didn't butcher it. They left all the important things are pretty much the same. And where they did change it, they didn't change any of the context at all. Whereas some of the other lines, the context is completely different between our two dubs.
Yeah.
And so I'm a little bit impressed that they were able to change it and get away with it here.
Yeah. Well, and in all honesty, I really dig it. But what is great, though, so it cuts to her essentially in LCL fluid inside of an Eva, and then you find out she's in Eva 1.
Yeah.
And they're pretty much running tests to see if other pilots can hop in other Eva units.
Right. I'll buy that. I know that is what they're doing. But I kind of am just like... I guess I can see why you might want to try that. But there's really no point. Because, like we've been talking about the last few episodes, they have been a streamlined team. Like, absolutely killing it.
I think it's more so less for them and more for the Eva units. Because since the Eva units are like these living things...
Yeah.
That obviously house a lot more than just mechanical parts. And considering, like, Ray's has freaked out in the past, like when she tried to synchronize with it, I think they're more so looking at it from an angle of, we just want to get data. We just kind of want to see if we did change pilots, what happens?
Yeah.
And sure enough, her and Eva 1 synchronized pretty well. Asuka starts going...
Yeah, didn't they say, like, she synchronizes, like, about as well as she does with Unit 0?
Yeah. And then Asuka goes, why don't I get to synchronize? And Masato's like, because you wouldn't actually like that, right? And she goes, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, she's like, you wouldn't want to leave Unit 2, would you? And she's like, of course not.
And then Masato's like, I don't think anyone could ever pilot Unit 2 other than her.
Yeah.
Which then makes me go... What the fuck is in Unit 2?
Yeah, she has a different line in mind, but it's pretty much to the same effect, where she's like, yeah, I didn't tell her that that no one else could pilot Unit 2.
Yeah, but, which I feel like Asuka would love to hear.
I know. That's what I feel like. Just tell her.
But I also feel like that could be perceived as bad because Ray can pilot both.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe it would cause some infighting, but... Pretty much after that scene, it cuts to Ray Cuts to Shinji inside of Unit 0.
Wait, sorry. They ask Rei, what... How are you feeling? And she goes, it smells like Shinji.
Oh, in mine she goes, it smells like Yukari.
Oh, fuck.
Well,
yeah.
And I mean, to be fair, father and son, same BO, dude.
Dude, I like Shinji because I thought for sure she was going to say, it smells like shit. And then it smells like Shinji, and that's when it cut to black and did the thing. I was like, good on you.
Yeah, well, so after that, it cuts to
Shinji in Unit
0. And
where he also says it smells like a Yanami or whatever.
Yeah, it smells like Rei.
Did he say Rei in yours?
No, he said Ayanami.
I was like, what's the point in flopping both of them? Like, come the fuck on.
Well, so it's kind of crazy though. Shinji gets like 10%, and then they're like raising it to 20% synchronization rate.
He starts getting kind of fucked up.
Yeah,
he looks out of it.
Well, he grabs his head and he's like, it feels like someone is trying to get like in my head, and then he's like, it's Rei, or like Rei is trying to get in my head, and then all of a sudden Unit 0 just freaks the fuck out. It starts rampaging, and then it looks right at Rei, and just starts trying to beat the shit out of the window.
Yeah.
And my interpretation has always been it is trying to kill Rei.
I think that too. The show says something different at the end of the episode in my dub, but...
Well, mine probably says, is it with Ritsuko?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ritsuko goes...
It's trying to kill me.
It's trying to kill me. Yeah, she says that in mine too. My interpretation, though, is based on that scene. It's gunning for Rei. But I think...
Totally.
But I think Ritsuko, her saying that and the point of that being a scene... is I think to illustrate it's kind of going over her head, and there's maybe going to be something wrong with her not catching that Unit 0 in that moment when Shinji was the pilot was trying to kill Rei on its own accord.
I think that Ritsuko is Rei.
What?
Just kidding.
I was going to say, wait just a damn minute.
It was going to be a stretch to pull that one off anyways.
Yeah, you would have had to weave the fucking longest of webs to connect that.
You see, Ritsuko is projecting herself, and she's vicariously living through a clone of her...
Did you say bi-curiously?
She's bi-curiously living through a clone of her mom, the Magi, which is why this machine is now seeing mountains for the first time and seeing life through human eyes. And when it is gunning for Rei, that technically is gunning for Ritsuko.
Ritsuko's mom was bad, and so Ritsuko wanted to take over her mom's body as a clone
to get back in a car.
Yeah, to be a mom to Rei.
Yeah, Ritsuko knew she couldn't have kids,
so Rei is now her kid, and Rei is bi-curious because Ritsuko is projecting her bi-curiosity onto her daughter.
Dude, Rei is probably bi-curious.
She's probably androgynous, dude.
Yeah, you're right.
She's what is it? Is it asexual, where you aren't like attracted?
What's the one that you can reproduce by yourself?
I don't know.
That's what she is because she's a clone. So it doesn't really matter what her preference is. Okay, look this up.
I'm gonna look up what asexual.
A sex.
Yeah. Okay. Asexuality describes a lack of sexual attraction. Romantic attraction is there, but they don't feel the urge to act on these feelings.
Can you look up what it is when you can create just by yourself?
When you can
procreate by yourself.
Create by...
Oh, it's already in your history.
No, that's the Google autofill.
Oh, weird.
Asexual reproduction. An organism can reproduce without the involvement of another organism.
So she's asexual in every way.
Damn.
Fuck.
More like apex predator asexual.
Yeah, for real.
But yeah, I interpreted that as whatever is in Unit 0 has a hatred for Rei.
Yes.
And she can synchronize in it when she's like just her in the unit, but something about Shinji being in there set it off to where
it's Akari, dude.
I don't know, man.
I don't know what to think about that either. I took the same thing from it.
Well, I do know, but I don't know.
Oh yeah, I forget this.
I really try and do a good job of
of
not being that guy where I'm like, well, I do know, because it's always shitty when someone's like, bro, just you wait, dude. Like episode 16, dude. Oh fuck, dude. Like I'm like episode 21. Holy shit. Oh. I'm making that up, by the way.
Everything you thought about Toji.
Wrong. Toji was actually...
He's the clone.
He's been an Eva this whole time. That's why when he punched Shinji...
Oh my god.
But yeah, so I don't know. I interpret it as the unit wanted to kill Rey.
I agree 100%. I just don't know why the fuck they could synchronize to a point and that they can do as well as they can if it doesn't like her.
Really makes you think then if Shinji getting in it was all it took to destabilize that, because they had to do a resynchronization test after.
And they said it worked fine. It went good.
It went fine, but shit. Really makes you think though.
And Unit 0 was like the prototype, right?
Yep. So. Yeah, but I mean, that pretty much wraps it up, because after that happens, Shinji, is in the hospital, and he wakes up in the same room he did in episode 2.
They throw so much. They throw so many deep lore cuts.
Yeah.
At the end of this episode to make it worth a shit.
Yeah.
That it's annoying.
Well, it's nice because it makes it kind of worth your while. But basically what happens is Shinji comes to after it goes berserk. He doesn't remember it going berserk, but he's like, ugh, I hate this ceiling.
Yeah, good callback to the second episode or whatever, where he wakes up and says,
I hate this ceiling.
Or new ceilings or whatever.
Or he's like, I hate unfamiliar ceilings.
Yeah.
So then it cuts to Akari and his right-hand man, and they're in the middle of a discussion, and Kozo goes like, you are too concerned with protecting Rey, Akari.
Yeah.
Like, you are, and he goes, no, I'm not.
It's because it's his wife.
Who
and
knows?
Ritsuko.
Who knows, dude? And Misato at this point.
And Toji.
Toji.
It is Toji, right?
No. Yeah, it is Toji. The guy. I thought you were saying is that who Gendo's in love with. And
that's Gendo's wife, right?
No. But pretty much Rey, it sounds like, because Gendo goes, yeah, I just got word that her resynchronization test was a success, and she's going to move the Lance of Longinus down to the deep blue sea.
Yeah, and then they show Rey in the mech walking somewhere with a fucking Didlo.
No, it's the Lance of Longinus.
Where's the Lance of Latinus?
Probably up the South Pole, aka yo ass.
Well, what were they bringing to Antarctica? You fucker.
Who know? Or were they taking it there, or were they bringing it back?
Well, is that the Lance of Longinus?
I don't know. Maybe it was the Lance of Latitude.
Latidus. I guess I'll find out next time.
On Dragon Ball Z.
I don't know, dude. It didn't irk me, but it kind of did. I'll be honest.
It was literally in the last 30 seconds.
Because I had accepted that, okay, the point of this episode for them is... Sorry, do you have an actual thought?
I was going to say, too, at the beginning, they also make mention in that round table of the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Yeah.
And it's like stuff like that, along with this... Yeah,
Lance?
she's taking the Lance of Longitude down to the deep blue sea depths.
Yep.
But, yeah, I do agree. It is kind of shit because... These episodes are meant to give the animators a bit of a break.
Well, yeah, clearly. I mean, dude, there's episodes just like this in all sorts of shows from this era.
Yeah.
Star Trek Next Generation have clips episodes where it's like, one character's kind of narrating a small side plot while they just show clips of things that lead up to, like, a reveal or something.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I get it. Like, the idea is, if you have somebody who's missed half the season, you want an episode where they can catch up and kind of see what's to come with those breadcrumbs at the end. I think, like, this episode worked for that. This would probably get me hooked if I had never watched the show before.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like, can you imagine if the people that wait a week for our podcast, because they wait
with
bated breath for us to come out. If we decided at the midway point of the show, episode 14 is actually going to be just clips of our best of our... Hey, and then at the end of the episode, for your reward for listening to this shit clips episode, we're going to reveal everything we're doing after Neon Genesis. And then we put it out. You'd feel cheated if you'd been listening to the show.
Oh, yeah.
And that is kind of how I felt watching this. And I can't imagine if you watch it at the time, you're just like,
oh, dude.
Oh, for Pete's sake.
Christ. If I tuned in to watch a new episode of Evangelion in like 1996 and that shit came on, I would have been so irked. I would have just been like, what? And again, it makes sense because they have to do it to make the lives of the animators not hell.
No, and like I said, I think it's a good stopgap and a good jumping on point for new viewers.
But it's like either commit to dropping new little tidbits of information or don't.
Yeah, they dropped some bombs at the end of this episode that surprised me.
Yeah, but speaking of bombs at the end of the episode, let's bomb it with our reviews.
Okay.
So episode 13 out of 10 mechs, what would you give it?
I am going to give episode 13 7 mechs.
Yeah. That's fair.
I think episode 13 is a good episode. I actually kind of liked it more talking about it with you.
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot there. I like that they flip the script and make it more of a technical angel fight than a hand-to-hand combat angel fight. I love that. I think that's great. It just didn't have the same oomph that I wanted. There were some good jokes. There were some good sequences. Some really heartfelt dialogue that gives you a lot of insight. And I thought it was good. I just don't think that it's like it's not anything that I would give like a 9 or a 10. But that's I think fair. It was solid. I was glad that I watched it. And yeah. I would recommend it because I think it's an important episode.
I'd probably give it a 7.75.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that really comes from the last like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
The way that it gets tied together, and I think that the implications of what Ritsuko is talking about are very impactful. And I always, a lot of the moments in this show that really stick out to me are the ones that have kind of that both like significance both in the show, but are things that I can immediately think about in my current life. And so that's why I just really gravitate towards those moments. So 7.75 for me.
That's a good score. I mean, I would say, like anything that's an 8, I would consider to be like a great episode. Yeah. Highly recommend. And anything above that is like special.
Yeah.
And like, that's what's interesting. My ratings when we first started the show were a little higher than they are now. Because I had nothing to gauge it by.
Yeah, well now you're getting a good baseline.
Now that we've had some bangers, I feel confident in giving this one a solid 7.
Yeah.
Now, for episode 14...
Oh, yeah.
This episode pissed me off. I was writing like freaking crazy at the beginning of this episode because they had all these subtitles popping up in Japanese of like what's happening. And I'm like, shit, they've got a new battle and they're going to tell me about it in Japanese? How the hell am I,
Yeah.
So I'm like writing down all the subtitles and like...
and then you realize...
I realized that, wait, I've already seen this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then I was like, wait, what are they doing? And then I understood... It's just clips. I already bitched about it.
What are you giving it?
I'm giving this a 3 out of 10.
That's fair.
Because the highest I could give this would be like a 5.
That's what I gave it. I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 10 max.
It tried hard at the end. It gave you some good details at the end. I think
the second half balances it out. At least it wasn't a full 20 minutes of just clips because they easily could have done that. Which, and I'm not saying 14 minutes is any better, or, the 10 or 11 that it ended up being, but, yeah, I give it 5, because I think, if you want to talk low points, this probably is about as low as it gets for me. I just am never a fan of these types of episodes, and I like that they attempted to sprinkle in new info, but it's like at that point, I've already checked out about halfway in because I'm watching stuff I've already seen.
See, that's what drove me crazy. That's why I gave it a 3, because I thought about giving it a 5. because the ending is interesting.
But you want to send a message.
Well, it just pisses me off that they would set the precedent that if you've seen the show, you don't need to give a shit about this episode. And then they give you all these, like, if you didn't see the end of the Eclipse episode, you won't know what the Lance of Latitude and the Love is. Exactly. So I'm kind of like, you know what? Screw you, Akari.
Yeah. Take that, Gembo.
Gembo.
Take that, Gumbo.
So yeah, 3 out of 10. Fuck you.
Yeah. and a 5 out of 10 from me. Fuck you.
4 out of 10 for HiroBabble.
Fuck you. Well, yeah, shoot.
I did have one line that I think is redeemable in this episode. When they ask Shinji what he thinks about Unit 0, he says, "It smells like Ayanami." And Asuka, who's just being an absolute
shit,
dick.
she's just like, ew, what?
She goes,
you freak.
What do you mean by smell? Jeez, you perv. And they're like, Asuka, shut up.
They're like, he's trying to sing. I should have made note of that because that was funny. Because
that's a good one.
She's like, what? Smells?
I'll give it to the writing staff. That is a good one.
That's it. That's where you get the 3 from. Nothing else.
It was a 2, and then that happened. So yeah, guys.
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, this is our first dual episode.
We really want to know if you guys like the dual episode. I think that in the future,
we won't talk as much about non-episode stuff in the beginning.
Well, let us know if you like banter. If you like the non-episode related banter, we can keep doing that.
We sure can. I guess I'm more so just saying, looking at the double episode as a whole, because it would have been an hour if that first half hour wasn't just us going back, which is fine. But
I really enjoyed it.
I enjoyed that too. I'm more so just saying. Let us know down in the comments.
Yeah, let us know, 1, if you like the banter, and 2, if you like the dual episode, because in the future, if there's episodes that are like a 2-parter, and you guys like the 2-episode system, we would definitely do that. So,
and that would save us from having to, segment talking about a 2-parter episode in 2 different episodes that are a week apart. So.
That's right. So you guys might be wondering, well, how the hell am I going to let you guys know what I think?
How am I going to do it?
Exactly. Well, you don't even have to hack the Magi.
You don't?
No.
What do I have to do?
You have to have at least Windows XP.
Okay. Do I have to project my bi-curiosity?
No.
Okay. I'm liking it.
Okay.
Because I don't have that.
And I would never assume that you are asexual in either way.
Thank you. I can reproduce on my own. Thank you. Yeah.
You said it, not me.
It's tough, but
it's
tough.
It takes a lot out of me, but
I can do it. In fact, I'm about to go reproduce on the toilet later.
Oh, lay some eggs.
You got a big old stinker. I don't know where I'm going with this. I don't have to shit either. I just was being a shit.
You and Asuka, dude.
Yeah.
Anyways,
how can the people let us know?
How? They can let us know at HiroBabble@gmail.com.
Where else can I let them know?
Facebook.
And if another one?
Twitter.
Okay, what about a last one?
Apple Podcasts.
Oh, I think there's one more in there.
Google Podcast.
YouTube comments.
YouTube, that's right. YouTube comments.
Now you're forgetting our YouTube.
We need more people to comment things like, God, these guys sound sexy, man.
Yeah. Wow, these guys are really good.
They sound asexy.
How did they get Shinji's voice actor on their podcast?
Yeah. And who'd they get to sing the theme song?
Yeah, we really need to hire them off Fiverr again. They did a great job.
Yes.
Yeah.
For our next segment.
Yeah, I can't wait for you guys to hear what we come up with for the next one. Or who we hire, I guess.
Right. The cat almost came out of the bag there.
On that note, though, thanks for tuning in to the first ever
double epic. So.
I'm Michael.
And I'm Spexo.
And we'll catch you guys next time.